the United States of America, and to the which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What's new tonight? Yes.
Well, thank you very much. This evening, first up, we have department head updates.
We got the FEMA stuff's getting pretty well wrapped up. The regular stuff, we're working on mediation now. That's going pretty good. Pulling the trucks and the equipment in, getting them ready for winter, going through them. Try to get some grading in as we can. And it's all strides it is, obviously, but we'll get some rainy days coming. That's not all I can think of.
Anything as far as equipment or anything?
Yes, I have all my tires, cut edges, I have everything on here I need. We're just going through and checking stuff, checking the fluids, and actually we're right in the process of. Some of the trucks that do the transmission oil changes and rear end oil changes, we're doing that as well. Okay.
Rusty?
Yeah. Just went over 200 hours of motor. Just kind of talking about wrappers. And again, it sounds like a low number, but being electric, it doesn't accumulate out of it. So it's not, you're not really comparing it to established for what the other hours. But no issue, just kind of keep what I think it goes in for a checkup here shortly. So, we picked up some new cardboard, plastic, and electronic motors. What led us to that was we had a real problem as of probably June, getting rid of cardboard. That's one year. It only store so much, and we had stored a lot. But I came across two other brokers, some that work, some in Maine, which we've never dealt with before. Their stuff usually in New Hampshire with Vermont. So we partnered with them and have. With the building here that Jess and I have been dealing with this summer. Radiators have been removed, it's the ones we're taking out this year. They got more next year. On that, ask ourselves. That, I should have a second estimate on the roof of this building for us to look at going into budget season. The other company came up with that, put some additional patches on, then had gone up patched by that old protrusion in the back. You have a blacktop estimate next year for the transfer station. It was like set up to get us some coal patch, and we're gonna spend the last couple of days patching areas that are kind of coming apart. Wasn't real obvious last year that it was storm damage, but I think it was storm kind of. And a lot of the edge of it. So we've been patching in this need to about whether and what that like get that sorted out, solved next year. I'm also working on estimates for the recycling at the top. And the only one I've got so far that'll give me that estimate is Ben Peterson. So asked other guys, but they just haven't been real interested. Leads me to the issue of estimates, which are difficult. We have a system right now, we're trying 3 estimates. It's difficult, on one. And the problem is we don't. They're busy enough, they don't really want to take off 2 or 3 days to come up with building materials. All the stuff they have to do, you can get in 3 estimates. We also don't set up where we look at things and have somebody kind of give us a scope of work, project work to be done. We don't do that because it's expensive. Trying to deal with the contractor to come up and just give you an overall view of what the recycling should look like, what we could do to improve it. Cost effective about what we're doing. And by the time I'm done, they wanted, $12,000 or $30,000. That's the scope, and I said, I can't do that. So wind up with estimates that are very different because each contractor that comes in with a project has a different idea of how we should do it. And it doesn't really matter what that is, they all. So I think going forward, we have to cover that process and figure out how in today's day and age we're trying to do that. It's a lot of going to try to contract, contractors to come in and give us estimates, and I mean, I've been all summer on projects. That much. So.
Thank you.
Can I do one thing? Once you do track, even if it's just on a piece of paper, who you contacted and how many times you followed up?
Usually I know who they are, I don't necessarily keep track of them, but, a lot of times people don't. And, I mean, I'm not to pick on anybody, and I'm not gonna come first with summer. Getting so cement cleaning work done around the building, you'll take care of it for building it, something kind of problem. And it was done 7 years ago, but all the low line stuff gets splashed back, be a problem. And I called 3 different places and they all said, yep, we'll be there. And they gave us some service also along. But at the end of the day,
And this is FEMA work as well.
we're in October. We don't have any distance. And there just aren't a call. There's only so many people to do that. So,
I'm asking because I'm trying to think if there's like a compromise where if we had a piece of paper in front of us that showed the date you called these 3 people, the date you followed up with these people, do you know what I mean? That we have latitude to make a decision even though you don't have 3. If you show your due diligence.
We have a quote form that we use.
That's
for things
what
that we-
quote form.
Yeah,
And then it is just from trying to get some work done on the posts. 3 years back, when we had contractors come and look and promise an estimate and never got an estimate. For work.
it's just a different playing field. Form has to be guys in the US. So it's hard. I mean, I have 1 or 2 guys I can rely on. Beggars, one of them called me. So things local bit like. Sorry.
So I'm trying to find a way that we can work within it. It's still taxpayer dollars. I want to show there's due diligence that's been done. I understand the market, and what you're dealing with, but how do we find that sweet spot so the work can continue, but it will show that an effort was made and documented on our end.
yeah, so I think that, it's worth another conversation about procurement because we do have a list of approved vendors that we have contracts with, so it's this time of year, we looked at it last year, so we'll look at it again. And also redistribute the quote form for people. I know Tim Brown's used it a lot for tires and this, that, and the other thing. And that way we have documented proof of the days you call people and their responses. Yep.
It gives us an opportunity to make a decision so that projects do move forward.
I'm talking projects again. So contractors just kind of like, when I think, they're running, stick to that thing together. But that doesn't help as far as making sure that it's done, in a time frame. Sure.
Thank you. You guys are free to leave if you so wish. Robin this evening provided just a quick report. Access, consultant from Access Realty Group today withdrew their application for the Lancaster Motel, so it's officially withdrawn. They are still holding a planning board meeting on Wednesday. She also conducted a safety committee meeting, bringing in a consultant to talk about collective care within the workplace. We had 28 attendees throughout the town. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. We had a safety committee meeting to talk about collective care within the workplace, and there were 28 people that attended the workshop. It was well received. That is it for department head updates this evening. Next up, we have appointments and Rob Christie with the M. Smith Memorial Fund.
How are you? And you are. I apologize on day 59 of my 60-day IV fortification schedule, so I'll be more pert here tomorrow. But basically, it's a matter of time and money. And the executive summary is that in the course of researching something else, basically to try to see how we can loosen up some of capital gains funds, just like the Dow Fund did, I stumbled on the fact that Lancaster, the town of Lancaster, has been named as contingent beneficiary for a fairly good chunk of trust income. The triggering event that made Lancaster go from contingent to actual beneficiary was on October 1st, 2013. However, this has never been acknowledged by the trustee of this fund, by the no longer qualified previous beneficiary who has apparently been receiving the funds, or noticed by the probate. This is a trust that's been in existence since 1961. So the contingent beneficiary language names the M. Smith Fund as the agents to expend once if the money comes to Lancaster. So we had a meeting last week in which, thanks to prompting and make sure the interest of everybody, we examined the problem, decided that it was something that M. Smith was legitimately to pursue, and we outlined some areas about how much money we would be willing to commit should it be ours to decide. Basically, this is a problem that will require some legal attention, and we first I went to Jessica, and she pointed out that the legal budget for this year has been pretty much used up, and so the other side of that coin is time and money are important, because there is a distribution coming up around the 1st of December from this fund that we feel should be Lancaster's, number one. And number two, there's a statute of limitations issue with the probate court, so we want to make sure that that's addressed when we get around it. So the M. Smith Fund itself has a very broad charge. The charge is to look out for the needy of the town. And the historical precedent has been that the fund has done more than just awarding specific things. They've actually done some broad community investment. One example is they provided 6 or 7 breast pumps for the maternity ward up at the hospital and stuff like that. So we thought about the precedent in the fund's activity in the past to see if it would be appropriate for us to think about this. And so we're interested in seeking legal advice. And the big picture with this trust is it's about $350,000 in it now. The distributions that we feel should have been Lancaster over the last total about $180,000. I bought a fireman for an annual month. The trustee of the current trust is out of state. We would very much like to see that trust come back to the trustees of the trust fund here in Lancaster, because the rules are anything that benefits Lancaster is supposed to be under their purview. Trust is supervised by the probate court, so there's a report every year. It has been for 61 years. So it's pretty easy to see what the facts. The distributions come twice a year. And the last time that those distributions were tallied and the report was studied by the probate court was in March of this year, taking a look at the parameters and distributions from 2024. So we feel like we've been denied income. The town has been denied income for 12 years, and it's not trivial. And as agents to expend, given that that time is important, and given that the budget for the town didn't anticipate this sort of expenditure, we feel that, and we voted on this, that it's appropriate for us to expend a limited amount of money to get an attorney to explore whether this is even worth pursuing or not. So our actual vote was to authorize the expenditure up to 5 hours worth of attorneys. We don't know what an attorney's rate will be, but we have a limit on it. And the idea is to see whether this is actually an opportunity for Lancaster or whether it's not pursuing. So again, benefactor was Mr. Dow. Owned PJ Noise before Hank Haynes and Joe Brown bought it. And he left the money in his will. At first, he left his residual money to benefit the Lancaster Hospital auxiliary. 2 years later, he changed his mind and had the money going to a hospital out of state. As long as it continued to operate, and it surrendered, this outfit surrendered their license to the state of Maine on October 1st, 2013. This is well documented in the press, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of a thorny problem, which I'm sure what we think should happen is, first of all, the money should start coming to Lancaster, as the will said. The second thing is, we feel like we should make a good faith effort to recover the money that's been going to the wrong place. And the third thing that we feel is important is that the trust be brought back in state and be administered by the trustees of our trust fund. Because and I'm not being too specific about the details, and we were in non-public session when we met about this, because there are some parties involved in this that may or may not have legal egg on their face. So we wanted to make sure that we went after this right way. So the point of this thing is to make sure that you guys know what we're going to do and how we're trying to solve the problem of getting something done preliminarily and conservatively when the money isn't necessarily immediately available through the town funds. So the bottom line is it might mean as much as $25,000 a year coming to the town. And one of the things that Emmett Smith thinks about is just like the Dow Fund. Remember the $10,000 that came into a separate trust and used to help pay some of the welfare costs so the taxpayers don't have to adopt them. And our thought was, well, if we can throw some money into the welfare fund to do that further give some relief to taxpayers. Now, we don't see it, we haven't been dispensing a giant amount of money, but we see that there are some big expenses coming up with respect to the towns having to invest in the water system and the sewer system, a lot of deferred maintenance. And so we would rather take steps now to get that money available to aid citizens in need than have to do this after the need is a bit specifically identified. I think we're going to take, we're going to have to go to get an attorney, go to the court. You know, this is a process, and the sooner we start it, better it'll be. We're motivating the effort to stay in touch with informally, which is allowed. Of course, we can't have a meeting and make decisions without having public. We are allowed to gather information, and so I've tried to stay in touch with the town manager. Talked with Leon a little bit about it, and talked with the county attorney, who probably doesn't have any standing here, but he has made some recommendations about who attorneys might be. Now, as far as selecting attorneys is concerned, Our first thought was to try to use the town attorney, but that may be some sort of, well, we don't know if Chris Bolt's actions for the town are specific to trust and estate matters, although his firm does have the department that does it. So we've looked at, but honestly, there are various people who have done work in the past and were terribly trying to out his attorney, because he would, in my experience, he would be very good about it. So that's what we're doing. And any suggestions you have about attorneys that we might approach, or how to interview with the process, we would love to hear them, and want to make sure that do a bunch of stuff behind anybody's back. I'm trying to be open and basically look out for the people who may express a need in the future. And I know Peter, David, two of the trustees, I've spoken with them personally, and I've also written to Jeff, haven't heard back. So that's the big picture. The other thing that's going on with respect to trust is, as you know, the spending committee is petitioning the investment committee to change the yield from the investment trust from 4% a year to 5%. And we would like to see that all of this sort of being organized and managed by the time you go through this budget cycle. More money coming, that's an important piece of information when you set your costs and department out. We haven't had much luck getting response from the investment committee. It's like any other large committee, you have to get everybody who can come together. But we do. The spending committee voted for it. It's in the minutes, and we forward that on. So we are interested and anxious to get that going. Our original goal was to try to get this stuff underway by the time the budget meeting on the 14th happens, so that you could know what meat to grind. So are there any questions or observations that you have, or trying to figure out what to do it cheaply as possible and to do it responsibly?
Thank you, the Evan Smith Fund, for digging into this, Rob, and thank you for recognizing the challenge we're having with our budget line items when it comes to attorneys and finding a way to keep this moving forward. Thank you.
Yes. And the Emmett Smith Fund, our broad portfolio is to advocate for the needy. And so we don't feel like we're going contra purposes here. And we also have tried to set a limit. So that's what we're up to. And right now we're trying to interview and get some attorneys lined up to at least write a letter and get some advice.
Sounds like a reasonable path.
Yeah.
And I know more about this. So if you have any questions you want to talk, as you know, probably you're curious with.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are no public hearings this meeting. Next up is review of minutes for September 15th, 2025, regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept the September 15th minutes as presented.
Second that.
Next up, sign various paperwork. We have an intent to cut for Loretto on Grange Road, tax map R03, lot 7. Thank you very much. For new business number one this evening, I have adopt welfare guidelines with an update. So you'll see in the documentation before you this evening, the SNAP food and non-food allowance changes every October. So those amounts, we've adjusted the date on the file as well as the months for monthly food. So this comes into play as we adopt amounts so that we can take a look at what people's expenses are and what is basically agreeable that their expenses should be in line with. You also see at the bottom that I have adjusted, I'm suggesting adjusting the burials and cremations from $750 to $1,000. And just to put this into context, I was looking at other people's guidelines. Tamworth has a $2,000 reimbursement for a cremation. Manchester is $1,100. Franklin is $1,285. I think that the costs for cremation have gone up, and when we are going through this process, we also drafted an updated application for burial assistance, and this makes it much more comprehensive and easy for a family for me to determine whether or not a family is actually has the resources to bury their departed. So looking for just kind of your guidance to see if that's on par or whether or not we want to stick with the 750.
So I think 1,000 sounds good.
I think we've awarded 3 burials this year.
That's probably about average, or maybe a little bit below average.
We do have a nursing home in town and stick with this.
Just looking at the monthly shelter allowance, has that changed for 2025?
That was, the amounts were updated, but I don't think I ever adjusted the 2024 to 25. So they do not change at this point for next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
You need us to vote.
Yes.
Make a motion that we accept the adjustments to the welfare assistance for the town of Lancaster.
As presented, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. There's no other new business this evening. For old business, number 1, consolidated communications build out certification of satisfaction. So I know there was some clarifying comments that we had at the last meeting. Robin provided you additional information. So this evening we are looking to sign that they did do the work that they intended to do.
Okay, well, I still have concerns, even after the information that we received from Robin. I watched the video from the night that they came, and it says that all they were going to need from us was to approve that they were going to do the work at TAP. There is no mention. Actually, they even written up the motion that we were to make. And it said the only thing that was going to be required from the town was that we approved that they would be doing this work, whoever it was we chose. The materials that she sent out are their application, which proposed 455 locations, but then the spreadsheet only showed 393. So I don't know what that difference is. But more importantly, we're being asked to sign something that says they've completed all the customer passings, which I think was going to be 900 plus passings, and they performed all the work to a satisfactory level. I still don't know how I would know that. I know they can't get their grant money until we sign off. And I don't know how you two feel about this, but to say that this is done satisfactory, and I don't know that we should be doing the due diligence, that we need to go find the 927 passings or the number of people. This is confusing to me.
Yeah, okay, thanks toward the review. We gotta have some,
Maybe they can come in.
when they can come in, maybe they can show us some data that why there's a discrepancy. Of course, There's something.
Yeah. I mean, I went through the PowerPoint again, I went through the whole meeting again, I mean, I put in more time than I should have to certify something that they're expecting me to certify. I don't know how to. I'm at a cross.
Do know that there was some people in town who didn't get this.
They did explain that some people they were gonna serve the people that were underserved. But I don't know that all of those, I have no way of knowing. Short of us sending out, hey, did everybody, are you not served? I mean, and
I know there's going to be a subsequent rollout, right, like they're going to be back, but I feel as though at this point in time, this is an administrative procedure that says they were in town. I appreciate your comments because they are made public for the record, so.
I'd like to know more information.
So what Robin provided you is not enough.
No, I'd like to know the townspeople that talked to me. They came and said, we didn't get this. So if I sign this, say that, then I'm saying that they're wrong. So,
and she didn't provide us anything that indicates all customer passings, which is like a 900 plus number. But she provided their application, which said 455. And then a spreadsheet that is 393. And I don't know what that spreadsheet, maybe that spreadsheet is a subset of 455. It's an addition to 455, but I can't get to the 9 whatever, which was in their written presentation and in their verbal presentation to us. I can't get there.
Yeah. Jessica being here, but
It does. It does.
the night that they made their presentation, as I told. Okay, they were here and, oh, you're gonna vote tonight.
Yeah.
If we had to have the proper information. For their proposal. Then we probably wouldn't be sitting here questioning on whether they completed the job as they were supposed to. And I gotta respect your thing, you're the one that put your signature on.
Well, with the number, that was my first night, it was like the first time after I was named. And with the number of questions that I asked that night on this topic, had they mentioned that we were gonna have to certify at the end, I think we're confident I would have had questions on how would we certify. I don't know that for certain, but knowing me and with the number of questions I've already asked, there was no mention that it would be after the fact, we would have to say anything.
So if we look at number 3, town acknowledges that at any time so-and-so discover that the contents of the certification are inaccurate and has the affirmative duty to inform the BEA, Office of Broadband Initiatives, of the inaccuracy at the earliest opportunity and take the steps necessary to correct it. So for instance, you would be looking for the anomaly between their initial findings and what actually was.
Plus, how would we certify the passings, which was a 900? We don't have anything to show, so there's two sets for me. Difference between 455 and a 393. Just the raw, I'll call it the raw email. And then there was their original presentation, which was in our board packet, it said that there would be 927 passings. We have nothing that shows that occurred.
There must be some sort of mapping of.
Yes, there's like a mapping for it.
Show all their little things like this, of these are the people, these are the locations or whatever, and then maybe an overlay with like blue. That says these are the ones we actually work.
I would think they should be able to provide the mapping of the streets, because it was supposed to be fiber cable that would run into the streets, and they were definitely down on Main Street for quite a while.
I want to say also, just about the number 3, that if we discover that the contents are inaccurate, we have to inform. I don't think the onus should be put on us making a certification. I mean, we should have the information up front so we know we're certified. And then, yes, of course, if we find we made a mistake, but we have no way to certify what they did. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's all. Leave it at that. I'm sorry. My head done.
You can put your name on it, but I respect your opinion that you're not comfortable.
I'm pretty much on.
get more information. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, and I would think, Matt, I think that they would relay, okay, these are the streets we ran the fiber down. You know, there were
And with
30 houses on Wolcott Street, there's 50 houses on Bunker Hill Street, we run. They don't think, okay, when run your cable by or your fiber by 900 houses. But I thought the number sounded way too high when I was making the presentation and was going, really? The other company had said they were gonna do like 150 or 170, I can't remember.
It's a lot more.
It was a lot lower, but of course, they're the main company that's already in town.
They already had a lot of locations.
Yeah.
And Consolidated, there's no question, did a lot of out east, they did not Prospect Road, they did a lot of outlying areas. And part of that 393 listing, it shows the individual contractors.
You know, it's a map, where they ran the fiber and how much
It's very simple.
I would think.
Next up this evening, select boards.
Question, from Cindy Billadew, I thought maybe he was gonna be here. Where are we with him? Was he gonna get a hydro back? Oh, that's the word.
He
Was
was
he gonna
on,
get a hydro back?
he was on the phone with the hydrovac company today, so still working on scheduling.
Something we think that could get accomplished still this season?
Don't. We are doing onboarding call for our grant on October 14th.
That's if you go.
Yes, it was signed by the governor's council.
Great, yep, that's great. Thank you, that's all I have.
Well, then they, other than, all the departments have seemed to be keeping extremely busy with one thing or the other, getting ready for winter, water breaks on Main Street. We had a pretty good mess. And just extend my thanks to them for continuing to work hard and do their due diligence.
Thank you very much.
Actually, I'll tag on to that. The amount of time that it's taken to get the building to the condition that it's in, that is getting done by other than contractors that we are paying. That's getting done by staff who are salary and are putting in many extra hours, cannot go unnoticed or unrecognized. And I wish there was a way to track that so that you could say the volunteer hours that have been put in to get us to where we are and what will continue to happen is just impressive. But it looks like little elves come in the night and get it done and nobody knows.
Took down every single thing.
If something was changed, it's because you did it. It's impressive and unnoticed and, I mean, unnoticed to the public and it's, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up this evening is the town manager report. So we had a hearing scheduled for September 24th at BTLA for Hodge Road. Tulare? Tulare, I can't remember.
It's the land use change tax
appeal, yeah.
Oh, sure.
The property owners withdrew the application. Not having it. I sent along an ERZ, that's an economic revitalization zone letter to business owners to advise them of the state program. Thanks to help from the Chamber of Commerce and also CEDC. I also met with Wendy from CEDC as she gets on board with her new role as executive director. The Lancaster Beautification Committee planted 2 sugar maple trees in Centennial Park in memory of David J. Black. So making sure that that's known in this meeting today, so that I can look at it with that later point. They were planted near the back towards the courthouse. They were donated, it was about $1,000 worth of trees and Four Seasons Landscaping, Leonidas volunteered some time to install the trees. Subsequently, members from the Lancaster Farmers Market parked too close to the tree during the initial week. We had to stake the trees off to prevent any further damage. I just want to note that there is an extreme amount of parking on Centennial. The Lancaster Trails will be holding volunteer days on October 11th, 12th, 18th, and 25th from 8:30 to 3 p.m. help from Northern Forest Center and AMC. I see that people are promoting this throughout far and wide, which is great. I know Rusty spoke about town's force account labor, insulating pipes and removing the radiators. We are anticipating fixing the exterior fire escapes within the next 2 months, as well as building out the fire separation in the boiler before the end of the year. So that work continues to be ongoing. The Parade of Lights with the Lancaster Fire Department is this Friday at 7 p.m. to help close out Fire Prevention Week. So it's a great time, and come on downtown. And I think know your escape route in case of emergency. There were 2 water breaks. So what I learned from Tim Billadew is that breaks equal breaks. And so there was a break on Main Street by the Lancaster Motel, which you all saw on social media and the news. There was also a water break at the Lancaster Fire Department between the road and the building somewhere. So if you saw some water on Mechanic Street this weekend, it was a valve just kind of regulating itself. Timmy was off on Friday. He has not scoped that to my knowledge to see where the break is, but I understand that there was likely an issue in the building in the past. So we'll keep on top of it. I attended a meeting with DES regarding our vulnerability assessment scoring. Robin and I went down to Concord and sat in on this in the morning, and then a Homeland Security event in the afternoon. DES with Wesson and Sampson are finishing up their work to present to the select board their vulnerability findings. This should be done in late 2025 or potentially early January. So we'll be presenting it to you. Again, it's another tool in the toolkit for us to understand where our assets are and ranking them. Welfare awards. I have $3,459.93, which includes 3 nights at a hotel for 2 different parties, as well as preventing 3 different evictions. So been pretty busy it was kind of hairy end of last week. But that is it for me. We do have a budget meeting next Tuesday on the 14th here. For information this evening, you will see a planning board meeting notice for October 8th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. You'll see a DES letter for request for more information at 286 Pleasant Valley Road. Land use permits for David and Donna off Elm Street, Charles and Marlene Cotton at 151 Reed Road, Ronald Curtis and Tara King at 15 Sunnyview Drive, and Frank and Marissa Tomer at 9 Hoopers Drive. Next up is public comments.
First of all, I attended the planning work session today. It's very impressive. You guys cover a lot of ground and important things that are just sort of too tedious to cover in these meetings. So I want to thank you for dedicating your extra time for that. As far as welfare is concerned, at Emmett Smith, we very much appreciate the fact that you have no guidelines and would like to cooperate and participate with you on those. So I look forward to getting a copy of that. Rusty didn't mention it, but there was a pretty nice write-up about the electric motor at the transfer station in the Concord Monitor paper. So we had statewide recognition, probably because Mr. Patno's son is in charge of something or other. But it was a nice art and complimented. Apparently other people are catching on with the electric vehicles as a result of their publicity. And with my 5 hats, you've already heard from me on spending at Emmett Smith. Tomorrow night, do have the Connecticut River Joint Commission meeting. If there's anything that you would like me to bring before them, that's fine. We are still 4 members without too much luck. As far as the airport is concerned, I think there's a budget hearing coming up fairly soon. And we also, it's not officially part of the airport, but the air show planning stuff is going on already today. We're talking about air show experts who may come in and do the work. We just like to sell them popcorn, let's come to follow. understand that there's a housing authority meeting later this week in the morning, and what we're trying to do is, organize where we started. We, as you know, I've attracted another member, Heather Phillips Kennison is interested in becoming a member. I said that I would bug out as soon as someone else can, but I think it's a little bit soon for me to do that. And we have room for one more member there on the housing authority, and that brings it up to the quorum of 5. So that, talked about river, talked about the airport, talked about the housing, that's just about all I have. And, hope it rains for me.
Thank you, Earl.
Thank you.
Alan?
Do I understand you saying that the Lancaster Motel project is getting water?
A consultant from Access Realty Group, this was the previous public hearings that we had, has withdrawn their application.
So it's getting water.
That particular project,
Any reason, anybody give any reason why?
not that I've heard.
That person was still bottom fishing and hoping that things would be variances would be given for them, and when they found out they weren't, maybe they just.
So that's what I wondered, if they thought they could come in every way and do anything they wanted to do, when they found out we had rules with that, that's what my impression is, but, the other thing is, you say we're rock bottom on our lawyer fees, does that mean we're not gonna seek any more advice from the town? How did we spend so much money this year? I haven't heard of anything that used a lot of money. Was there anything that drained that fund? Should it be funded harder?
It was part of her.
How should it be funded harder? You know.
It was cut.
It was cut.
It was cut. It was cut.
Lawyers' fees haven't gone down, as you know.
And you have to go downstate to find one too.
The public likes to pay lawyers, but it's a fact of life and has to be done. Necessary tool. No difference in keeping the rope. Keeping the rope from leaking. All right. Anybody else? Okay.